What's up, everybody? Dead Girl here. It's Wednesday, and we're back in action. Today I've got with me a very good friend of ours, Terry G, also known as Dorian, is a stage name, if you will. Everybody say a big hello and welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today.
What's up?
Now, for those people out there in the land of Facebook and YouTube and live, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Well, I am a 22-year scare actor. I worked in haunted houses, haunted trails, haunted attractions, but I also work in theater, stage makeup, and a lot of other things.
So you're like a jack of all trades.
Something like that. You know, jack of all trades, master of none.
That's the story of my life, I'm telling you.
Same.
Now, you've been doing this for 22 years, and I gotta ask, what got you started? What fueled that fire to kind of get you going into scare acting and in the business in general?
So there was this horrible little haunted house, and it wasn't by little, I mean, it wasn't little at all. In mile marker 13 in Kissimmee, called the Haunted Mansion LLC, and I needed a job.
Oh. I've not heard of that.
It was there and gone in less than 2 years.
Okay, it was a quickie then.
Oh, yeah.
Now, were you there for both years or just for the 1 year?
Just the 1 year. I needed a part-time job because the Land of the Mouse was not paying well.
That tends to happen when you're working at one of those type of areas, let's say. So after that place closed, you went on to do other things. I know you've worked for a lot of the, let's say, independent haunts. You've also worked for some of the theme park haunts here in the Orlando area. You've been doing it forever. So I know a lot of people out there, and I get this all the time, they're like, I want to do it. I want to scare act. How do I get in? Where do I go? Do you have to know somebody? Do I sacrifice a dog? Like, what's the deal? So...
Well, from what I hear, you sacrifice a gerbil because they're really mean anyways. And then you pray to the god of polka dotted socks. No, I'm kidding. My best bet would be find an independent haunt or whatever's holding auditions. I have a lot of friends who went into like a haunted trail, and like that's how they cut their roots, and they just really enjoyed working the haunted trail for however many years.
Okay.
I'm too ADD to stay in one place, so I've been in trails, I've been in houses, I've been in theme parks, I've even traveled out of the country, and I went into a haunted hospital in Japan.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. How long were you over there for? Was it just for one season?
It was 2 separate seasons, and they always thought the American white girl was so much fun.
Of course. I mean, you're fun anyway. But
I try.
You're even more fun when you get to be scary, of course.
Yeah, I was the biggest thing there, you know, being 5'8", I was the biggest person there, so it scared the crud out of pretty much anybody who came through.
Oh, wow.
Because they weren't expecting an American.
You're like the last thing that they thought of, and then they walk in and they're like, ah!
I was up on the 3rd floor. I was actually towards the end. I wasn't at the end. I was towards the end.
Okay.
And a lot of the reports that came back, the scariest thing was the American.
I mean, yay!
It's yay?
Question mark? Maybe?
I don't know. It was interesting, that was for sure.
Okay. So I gotta ask now, I know a lot of people that I know that scare act are usually look to places like Facebook because that's a great place for a lot of these haunts, whether they're big or small, advertising that they're hosting auditions or tryouts, if you will. So I gotta ask you now, what's, I guess, the biggest difference between auditioning for like a theme park haunt versus an independent haunt?
All right, so there's 2 big differences.
Okay.
One of the trails that I'm still associated with, and their haunt family, once you become a part of this trail, you're basically asked back every year. You don't re-audition.
Okay.
Once you're a part of that trail. And if you get in with a family like that, you're a family basically. You're asked back every year unless you screw up, and then bye.
It's like any job almost. Like don't be a douche.
Yeah, you burn your bridge. And I've known people to burn their bridge out of this trail. But I'm still associated with them. They're still family. But for instance, out of the 2 theme parks, one of them, it's, your slate is wiped clean every year as long as you don't actually murder someone, steal, or drink on the job. They wipe your slate clean and go, come audition next year. But it's a typecasting. Oh. So they're either looking for big or little people, somebody that could look like a child.
Okay.
They do that a lot because they like creepy children looking people, which, okay. Big scary guys, different sized women. It all depends on what the theme of the year is. It's a typecasting.
Okay.
But the other theme park that I am associated with, the one with the gardens out west.
Gotcha. The West Park.
Yeah. You, as long as you don't actually kill anybody and don't drink on the job and do things like that, you get what's called an anniversary audition. Okay. Each year in July, after your first year, they do anniversary auditions first.
Okay.
So we get an email that says, hey, it's July. Here, get your slot. Your slot is when you come in and you get first pick of, this is what, it's also a typecast, but we get first pick and then outsiders can come and audition.
Okay. Now, do they tell you and you don't have to give it away, like the names or anything, but do they tell you at audition, like what you're actually auditioning for? Or do you just kind of go in and be like, if I get something, awesome?
No. When you go in and you get typecasted, a lot of times you're given a code word or a code group. For instance, one year I was given just, you're going to be in a pirate house. One year I was in a beast horde.
Okay.
Didn't know what this meant. Didn't know what, I just know pirate and I just know beast. One year I was a butcher. One year I was, wielding a chainsaw in a tank top and ripped up pants.
So Florida woman, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. But both theme parks deal in code words until they release their themes.
Okay. Which makes sense because they don't want to leak anything away. And let's face it, even though you may be excited about that role, they try to keep you from leaking that information to the public.
Yes. And once you are given an official job offer, you sign a non-disclosure basically saying, if you talk about this publicly, you will lose that offer. Gotcha. And yes, both theme parks actually check social media. You would be surprised, but they do.
I'm not actually, like, in this day and age, everybody's got access to, the internet and to social media. So I would be shocked if they didn't.
There are teams for both parks. Pre-season, during the season, and even post-season.
Oh, okay.
Where they kind of keep an eye on things. They're like, well, what, if this person has a retaining contract, what are they saying?
Right.
So.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Kind of got to watch your P's and your Q's,
Gotcha. So when you go in to do an audition, if they're not just looking at your body type, do they have you do any type of movements? Is there anything special that they ask you to do? Can you share that with us?
It's a couple of exercises usually. One park, the really, really famous one that everybody wants to do, that's in Orlando. I'll give that away.
Okay.
You do a couple of exercises, and these are improv exercises.
Okay.
You may act out your biggest fear or do something like what the Texas Chainsaw Massacre would do. Just do something along those lines, some big action. But the one out west, you go through a haunted house hallway, and you get a position in that hallway, whether it's a drop scare or a door scare or, something like that. And the guy walks through and you scare him.
Oh, okay.
And then you line up and you do improv games for a good 20 minutes until you're ready to fall down, out of breath, and tired.
Now, what about the independent haunts? Are they a little bit more lax as far as stuff like that goes?
There is, depending on, the audition process, the trail I auditioned for, and I auditioned for them a long time ago. I don't know if I remember there was, you did some kind of scare, you talked to the owners, and, you went through training, you go through safety. I mean, there's one that I'm associated with where you are in the woods. You need some safety. You need to know, where your sources of light are, how to get to the bathroom, where security is, where the cameras are, and there are cameras, just things of that nature. They teach pretty much everything.
Okay. No, that's awesome. Now, do you get to, I know with the theme parks, you don't necessarily get to create your own character from scratch. Are you able to do that with the independent haunts, or do they mostly have like an idea and they say, okay, this is the type of character that we want, the rest is kind of free reign? How does that normally work?
They usually, depending on the haunt itself, they give you a scene and they give you wardrobe, and then you create.
Oh, nice. Okay. So you could, theoretically, you could come up with like your own backstory for the character if that helps you get into that mood a little bit more, whether you're a victim or you're, chainsaw wielding murderer or whatever the case is.
Pretty much.
Okay. Very cool. Now I know we live in Florida. It's a little hot. People tend to forget that. It's still, September, October, even the first week of November. It's like 90 out. And it's not as bad if you're inside acting per se, but people tend to forget, being outside, you've got to have good stamina and endurance, and you have to remember to do things to take care of yourself. Okay,
so it's different between private haunts and theme parks.
Yes.
Theme parks, it's extremely structured. You're 45 on, 30 off. 45 on, 45 off. You're given breaks, you're given rotations. You are told to hydrate and decostume. In these breaks, you're instructed to strip. Okay. Get down to your tank top and shorts or your underclothes to cool down. Okay. Now, in private haunts, I've been, you get your night meeting, you go to your set, and then you're instructed in between people, hydrate. Now, you can get to Halloween, and there is no in-between people.
Right.
So you have to find your moments. So it can get hectic. When it's 95 degrees outside or worse, you have to drink the Gatorade, the water, and stay away from the Monster and the Starbucks Frappuccino and all that other stuff. And, properly hydrate.
Yeah.
Because it can get bad. I've seen people drop.
Yeah. It's rough in the heat in general when you're not moving about, but when you're on set, whether you're in the woods or in a structure that is made to simulate a house, it gets hot. And I don't think people realize when they sign up to act just what it actually entails. It looks like fun and it seems like fun, and I did it like one time, and it was a ton of fun, and I loved it, and I would love to do it again, but it is physically exhausting.
Well, here's the interesting part. It's actually harder for someone your size to get through it than it is harder for my size. Okay. And for perspective, you probably weigh and I weigh like 240 pounds. And with the amount of training that I've had to do this, knowing that I need to eat a light meal beforehand and that I need to hydrate and do the things, even in some of the haunted houses I've been in theme parks, they're not properly air conditioned. And about midway through the night, you're still sweating your butt off. Yeah. So you still need to, drink the water and be ready to move. And simple things like we would go to dinner around 10 o'clock at night and still have 3 or 4 more sets to do. And I see these young kids, and now I'm 42. Yeah, I said it.
Listen, you're 2 years older than me. You're not that old.
Yeah, well, you see the 20-year-olds, they're getting their chicken fingers and their French fries for dinner, and I'm like, I wouldn't do that. And they're like, oh, no, it's fine, it's fine. I'm like, okay.
It's not
and they're like, well, why? I said, well, in about 30 minutes, you're going to feel like death. The
Mm-hmm.
heavier things are on your stomach, the worse you're going to feel.
Right, because you're going to be jumping around a lot too, and you don't want that sitting in your tummy because that's just going to suck.
Like rocks.
Yeah.
And, you know, usually that very next set, you see, no matter how high energy they're supposed to be, they're... And it's like, you are the sorriest lot that I've ever seen, and they don't understand how one of the oldest people on the cast has the most energy after lunch.
What would you recommend would be something good as far as food goes? And to follow up to that question, I have my husband, who is a makeup artist, and he's also worked haunts, chiming in about how if you have your makeup on, how difficult it is to eat if you're not getting touched up. So let's talk about those couple of things. So what's easiest, and then your makeup.
Okay, so secret, I'm actually a seasoned makeup artist, so I can touch myself up. So I get to do that one on my own. But first, food. You want to stay away from hot stuff. And a lot of people will grunt and grumble and be like, well, I'm hungry. Well, you want to stay away from hot food. A cold sandwich, a salad with protein in it, whether you're vegetarian or not. One of my go-tos during the season, especially working a theme park, is a salad with cold cuts in it. Okay. It's easy to do, and it's high protein, and it's not a rock in my stomach after break. Right. And I'm high energy, and I'm hydrated, and I don't feel like death, but in a good way. You know, but as far as makeup, stay away from saucy things like barbecue sauce or spaghetti or something with gravy, because that's bad. Yeah. Eating things like Doritos or things that crumble and get down the front of the costume or in makeup, bad. That is the way to tick off a makeup artist, is to go to him and go, I've got Doritos in my beard.
Can you fix this right here?
I think it's Cool Ranch Dorito. It's right here. No. And her husband would kick you, and I would be okay with it, because I've actually had that happen. It's not cute.
And anything greasy. He's chiming in. He says stay away from the greasy foods, fried chicken.
Yeah, it's, you know, anything that's going to make you greasy down your costume, down your makeup. It can make appliances hang badly. You know, and if you are over sweater, the more appliance or hair or fun fur you have to wear, the more you're gonna not take.
And that also reads into the hydration issue too, is if your costume is very heavy and layered, because I've seen people in fursuits, I've seen people in like 5 different layers of clothing.
Oh yeah.
If you're not hydrating properly, you're gonna drop very quickly.
Yeah, one of the worst. I've actually worn full-blown fur. I mean, and I come from the mouse fur, so you're talking between 40 and 75 pounds.
Oh, Jesus.
And they knew that, so they're like, okay, well, we're going to put you in something called furry tails. And I'm like, I have a funny feeling I know what that is. And it was a demonic rat. I'm like, oh, cute.
Great.
I'm going to lose 15 pounds. Okay. I'm buying gallons of water for each night. Mm-hmm. They put me in that, of being one of the oldest people on the cast, and I made it through the season just fine. I almost died once, but we don't talk about that.
Yeah. Now, do most haunts provide you with water? Do you have to bring your own? The same thing with food. Do you also have to bring your own food, like a lunchbox or anything like that?
Any private haunt worth a grain of salt will provide you with at least bottled water or jugs of water or some kind. Okay. I've only ever dealt with one that did not provide water. We won't call them out by name, but they're in the middle of nowhere.
You can if you want to. I'm not a fan of them.
They're in Plant City, Florida.
And they're large.
Garbage.
Yeah.
Absolute garbage. They did not provide their people water, and they don't wash their costumes. I'm sorry to go on tangent land, but ew.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's gross.
Any haunt worth a grain of salt will provide their actors with water. It's a safety thing. It's OSHA safety anyways.
Right.
As far as food, no, you have to bring your own food, which, or buy your own food. The theme parks have employee cafeterias, and you don't have to spend $10 to eat. I think out west, on average, a meal for me, even salad with all the stuff in it, was like $4.
Oh, that's not bad.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, they had deals that went all the way down to $2. That included the drink.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, they try to make sure you were fed. They used to, I don't know with this last season how they did it, have potlucks, but, with things nowadays.
Yeah, I made the face. That was just at the way things are now, not prior potlucks, because I am a fan of a potluck, but with the whole COVID and the world being the way it is now.
Yeah, no.
Not so much.
No. I'm guessing that was a no-no this last season. I wasn't there, so, I don't know how it worked this last season. But, yeah, I mean, you have to buy or provide your own meals, but, they make sure that you are hydrated. They offer water, and there's health services and other things to help you throughout the night.
Okay, well, that's good to know. And I don't think a lot of, like I said before, I don't think a lot of people realize going into it just how much you sweat and how much you need to actually hydrate, and then also eating, because to your previous point where people are like, well, I'm hungry, I'm just going to grab whatever, and then they regret it later.
Yeah. If you're not eating beforehand and during your break, during your night, you're going to end up in a bad way, either passing out or not being well, or you can boil down to just cramping because you're hungry. And your muscles are not getting enough because they're hungry. So yeah, you got to eat.
You're expelling all that energy. I would suggest eat before, eat during, do the light thing, and then of course hydrate. And
then go home and just pass out.
Yes. Or go home and eat a bigger meal afterwards. I know a lot of folks go out to dinners and, they do like Denny's and stuff like that, and they eat a decent meal afterwards. That's always an option too, but eat during that time frame.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. Now, I know things are a little bit different with like the whole haunt season last year and this year, and I actually just want to backtrack real quick. My husband chimed in too, and this is a good one for more of the independent haunts, not so much as the big theme parts, but your voice is a big one. You have to take care of your voice, because those haunts, they're screaming and yelling and all those fun things. Have you had an issue, or have you tried to wrangle in those young kids that are like, I'm going to do it? Have you tried to give them any of that sage-like advice to, take care of your body during the run?
So you always get the kids, and I always will call them kids because, being old. You always get the, I'm going to do the Beetlejuice voice. I'm going to yell from my larynx. And being someone who's also in the theater scene, who's kind of a trained singer, hey guys, you need to yell from your diaphragm. And if you're yelling from your diaphragm, I can scream at you for the next 6.5 hours and still be able to talk.
Nice.
And I'm like, in the last 10 seasons, I've never lost my voice. So
damn, girl, good for you. That's awesome.
It's a simple thing. You just transfer your concepts from singing to screaming, and it works the same way.
Okay. Now, for those that may not be familiar with that, is there anything that they can do, like when they go home, that might help soothe their voice? Like, are cough drops a good thing? And like tea? No?
No. Cough drops are actually one of the worst things you can do for your voice.
Really?
Everyone's like, oh my God, cough drops. Nope. Cough drops are horrible for your voice. Halls is something that is made to soothe the muscle here down to something called your epiglottis, which is in the back of your throat / doohickey back here. I can't words right now, but it's back here. It's because of germs, virus, cooties, cough thing.
Okay.
If your voice and your larynx is irritated, a cough drop is not going to do what it needs to do. You're going to end up with menthol in the back of your throat,
Ooh.
which is only going to irritate it more as you're screaming. Menthol for a screaming voice is not good. Ludens, which is basically candy, is better on the throat. But something like a Werther's Original or a Tootsie Pop is going to be easier on the throat. If you're going to drink tea, go for throat coat. Stay away from lemon or any other acids going into your throat, like orange juice, lemonade,
right.
Tea with lemon in it. Any of that's going to irritate. You want to soothe and not irritate. Honey good, lemon bad.
Okay.
And I've done this for the last 20 years.
And it's not failed you yet.
Nope. But if I will always go back, I will always go back. And if I've have any irritation, like the one time I thought maybe I might not make it, I was getting over a cold right before the start of haunt season.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, I don't know, throat coat. And I went to the store, grabbed the box, and I was fine. The other thing that you can do is go get a big old knob of ginger.
Yeah, like straight ginger?
Straight ginger. Boil it.
Okay.
Drink that with some honey. And it's basically abuela's tea, which is an old Spanish recipe, which I've had to do for a couple of theater shows where we all made this face when we had to drink it. But when we were, don't hang out, you'll catch a cold, and we have a show in 2 days.
Right.
We didn't listen. I was in my 20s. We drank abuela's tea, and we were okay.
Okay.
But it works. Although it tastes like,
I'm going to say straight ginger's a little rough. It's a little rough.
You cut it with a lot of honey, but it will soothe the throat.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I would have thought the cough drop thing, because that's typically where my head goes to initially.
Common misconception: if you're actually sick with a cold or any kind of upper respiratory, yes.
Right.
For a irritated voice, no.
Okay. That makes sense. I appreciate the explanation and the tips on that. Now, I wanted to show some of the characters that you've created and gotten to play with over the years. And if you don't mind, would you give us a rundown of these guys? I've got about 6 of them, I think. So here's our first 3. Let's start with that one on the left. I love the half face, first of all.
Okay, so the one that you're on right now, that is the one that you've got the arrow over. I'm sorry, I can't words.
The one that's blue with the blue background?
Yeah, that is the haunted trail that I work on. That is my 2-face look. That is a good 20 minutes worth of me just doing a half a face and throwing a contact in.
Nice.
That is a Petrified Forest, and they like to use that photo, which I don't mind, but that was my very first year there.
Oh, wow. We love Petrified. We have so much fun every time we go out and see everybody at that trail. It's a lot of fun. For those of you that don't know, that is here locally. That is, what, Altamont?
Yes, Altamont Springs, Florida.
I drive by it all the time, and I'm like, there's no, wait, that's the yard. But it's going to be petrified later.
It's APF. Now, that one was the circa 2010, I think. And I was working in Kissimmee at a place called the Haunted Grim House. And I was bored, so I decided to take an eyeball out.
Nice.
Yeah. And I was like, hey, look at me, I'm cute.
You're always cute when you're missing a facial feature.
And that's actually a 15-minute trick that you do with masking tape, paper towel, and some gunk.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. And then the last one we've got, that's a Petrified Forest as well, correct?
What? Tales from the Forest?
Yeah.
Actually, no. Tales from the Forest is a theater show.
Oh.
Basically talking about haunt actors war stories.
I do want to get a horror story from you, and I want to get a good story too, but we'll come back to that. But that's really cool. When did they do that?
That is actually one of my shows that I did for Tampa Bay Fringe Festival, 2017.
Oh, wow.
That was a show written and performed by myself. I did the makeup and the poster there, and the poster art is done by a friend of mine named Michelangelo.
That is very cool. I
Yep.
love that. All right.
Yeah, but I wrote that show. That was a fun show, but it's all war and horror stories about working in the haunt industry.
Now, is that, would anybody be able to access that show to see it? Did anyone tape it or anything?
No, unfortunately, I didn't tape it. It's something I need to redo and put online. But I have a show that I did for the not Orlando Fringe, for the Fort Lauderdale Fringe Festival back in 2016, I think it is.
Okay.
Called Confessions of a Theme Park Worker. Oh. And I did a continuance of that called Tales from the Forest. And people seem to like both these war stories, so it's the same concept. One is theme park stories, the other one is working at a haunt.
Everybody likes a good horror story for
pretty much.
And there are lots of them out there, let's be honest. Got a couple more images I wanted to share out with some more makeups that I've got here from you. Look at those beautiful faces.
Aren't they cute? So the one on the left is I am a member of a group called the Nightmare Nomads, and that is Dorian's makeup. That is the character I play, and that is his look.
Nice.
Done by Mr. Lars. I cannot pronounce his last name to save my life. The lead of our group is a lady named Sylvia Viculo, and I had just been given my makeup and I tried it out. But that is the first time I did the makeup for Dorian.
Nice. Now you guys travel too. The Nightmare Nomads aren't just like Florida local. They go wherever they can.
Yep. Traveling group. We've been to Texas. We've been to a few different places. And different members of the Nomads go all over the place. It's pretty cool.
Nice. I remember when you guys first came out, I was so excited because of course, I know you and I know Sylvia and I know Lars and a couple of other people that are in the group. And I was just like, yay! I was so happy that you guys were able to travel and to visit different haunts and like guest act and do things like that. And that's I've always been such a fan of that because you get the different experiences, and northern haunts are so much different than Florida haunts.
Very much so.
And people don't realize that.
Yeah, there's so much more of a sense of family in northern haunts than there is in southern haunts. And I mean, I've been the part of a few southern haunts and theme parks, and there's a good sense of camaraderie, friendship, but not family. I can't say that other word.
Camaraderie.
There we go.
I got you.
You got it. The only one I could say that, other than the Nomads, which we're a pretty tight-knit group, is pretty much APF is been the one that was pretty much that's haunt family. Other than that, the other ones that I've done in Florida, there was no sense of,
that family feel.
No, not at all.
Okay.
And there's still, even with other ones, there's drama underneath the surface, and you're just like, I
don't want to play with that. And I mean, sometimes that's inevitable when you get a large group of people together. There's always going to be some form of drama in some way, and it's just my opinion. I would just avoid it if possible.
Yeah.
Because why deal with the headache when you don't need it?
Yeah. I mean, a friend of mine who actually works up with many haunts, one family, and I'm just like, I'm here for it. I agree with it. No matter what, you shouldn't be just tearing another haunt down, even if you're in the same city.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, oh, well, we're better than you. No, promote other haunts.
Yes.
You know, if you're in one part of Florida and they're in another part of Florida, you're not stealing anybody's business.
No.
Promote.
Share it.
That's
Help
just
each other out.
Exactly.
And I've seen, and you know, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I saw a lot of that last year when, you know, COVID initially happened, and a lot of people were really worried about, like, are we going to have haunts this year? What's going to happen? And we ended up with some drive-through haunts, which was very different. Some of them better than others. But I also noticed a lot more cross-promotion happening between haunts. And that is fantastic to me, because you're sharing the scares with people. So, you know, somebody that may be Kissimmee local may only go to, you know, the couple of haunts that are down there, but somebody like me that's in Orlando, I'm going to go to Kissimmee, but I'm also going to visit some of the Orlando and Plant City and some of the other haunts too. So it was kind of nice to see them sharing each other's stuff and promoting with each other. And some of them were offering deals, like if you bought a ticket to one haunt and you brought your ticket stub, they would give you $5 off. I thought that was fantastic.
See, I come from the land of theater and fringe, where that's what it's always been. You know, if you came to this fringe show, bring your ticket stub and we'll give you $1 off of this ticket.
Yep.
And that's just, you know, theater friends backing each other up and helping each other out. You know, it's not about, oh, well, my show's better than yours. No, it's about, well, I want to get my show sold, but I want to get my friend's show done too. So everybody go see a show.
Exactly. And everybody wins.
Yeah, everybody wins. That's what it should be in October too, is everybody go get scared and then go to their place and go get scared, and everybody wins.
Exactly. Now, what did you think of the drive-through haunts? I know it was a little different, and like I said, some seem to be a little bit better than others, in my opinion. We can, listen, I know you and I were on the same level with a couple of them.
Okay, so I'm going to preface this with this. I've actually done a drive-through haunt that was set up by the county in 2004, 5. It was set up by Orange County 100 years ago. It was horribly done. It was so much fun. It was everybody get on the back of a trailer and ride through a scene. It was basically the same thing. No cars or anything.
So it was almost like a hayride kind of then, it sounds like.
Kind of, but it was with scenes.
Okay.
You know, and they were just driving them through. So I was like, okay. And it was dumb, but we had a good time. So I kind of got the concept. So when I saw the different things popping up, drive-through experience, I'm like, okay. So I saw...
We're adapting now.
Yeah, I'm like, this can be a thing. I only got to go to one that was a logistical nightmare that scared the crap out of me. Unfortunately, as someone who works in safety, in theater, and in a lot of things, I don't ever shut that brain off. So if I'm going to go and experience something, you know, I have high hopes for it. I'll be like, okay, this is going to be cool. I just spent X amount of dollars on this. I want to have a good time.
Right.
But I also want to make sure that they look good, or, you know, that they're safe. And I don't want to be going, oh my God, the entire time, which is what I was doing.
Which wasn't the good scares. That's not the kind of scare you want when you go to a haunt. When you're legit scared for an actor.
Yeah, like one falling into a bag who, if he would have moved his head not even an inch, he probably would have broke his neck.
Or an actor walking in front of your car when there's nothing but fog and you can't see her.
Yeah. These concepts, that several different, drive-through haunts had, were great, except that they did not think them out. They did not follow a lot of safety. They did not think some of them didn't think out things like bathrooms. I'm like, what? The one I went to was like, there's no bathroom. I'm like,
The one you went to is 5 minutes from my house, and it took me 3 hours to get there. Just saying.
I had to leave to go pee. I had to leave to go pee.
Now, I will say, we did another drive-through haunt, and they had it together much better. They had bathrooms. They had snacks. They had an area that you could park and get out, and they had a meet and greet character, which was fun. Their trail was definitely lit better. I didn't have to worry about somebody falling and breaking their neck, which was nice. So the idea was great.
It just needs to be, the kinks still need to be worked out.
Oh, yeah. And that's the other thing, too, is it was so new last year that nobody quite knew what to expect. I think between even the amount of people that were coming to these things.
I think there will be a well-oiled machine for a drive-in experience like that in 2022.
Yeah.
And people will still want to do that because, COVID won't necessarily be as bad of a thing. Right. It still might be a thing in 2022, but people will still want that experience because, well, I'm safer in my car.
And I think that's what the draw was with it so much last year is people were like, I'm in my car. And it was definitely there for, like, my husband and I'll admit, because I was like, we don't have to get out. We're in the safety of our car. We can have the windows up if we want. We can roll them down. And even with the windows down, the couple haunts that we went to, all right, one of them, they weren't coming up to the car and in your window. The other one, they were, which is also the one you went to. But the other one, they weren't so much. So it gave you a little bit more of a safety net with it. So you didn't have to worry about being around someone because let's face it, when you go to a haunt, as you know, your actors are very much in your face, very close to you. And it's part of the show. It's part of the act. It's part of the scare. And that's all had to have been modified.
No. Yeah, it was not thought out. The one I went to was more worried about some kind of story and going through something and like, let's charge top dollar for this before let's worry about the actual experience for the guest.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, I'm like, I need to go home before I find somebody and slap them because this is horrible. I want my money back. I want my hour back and I want my life back. Oh my God.
We were invited back out. And I respectfully declined because no.
Oh, it would have been, oh, hell no from me.
I nicely said thank you, but I'm good. Because, once was enough for me, and I know other people that had a good time. I did not. I know you did not. I know a few other people that I spoke to that did not. So I think it's also subjective in the way that you market something. If you market something as it being terrified and scary, make it terrifying and scary. Don't show me a play. Yeah. If you're going to show me a play, tell me it's a play, and then I'll go into it with a different mind.
Yeah, I did not know there was a 30-minute script.
I love how this just turned into us bashing the haunted road. Yeah, I said it. That's what it was.
No. Yeah, but yeah.
But there's other ones that did it, and they did a great job. So it's modifying things to set the desire and the need for people to be scared in what's considered, I guess, like the COVID world.
Yeah.
So things are definitely very different. And I wanted to actually talk with you about that and how you think some of these attractions, like the theme parks, are going to change. I've already seen how some of the independent haunts have changed, and they've done some distance scaring. Independent haunts, for the most part, they group you in only your group anyway. They have things set up to where even while standing in line, you're still distanced. They're still requiring masks as you're going through the houses, and now they're actors as well, and they're not getting in your face, which is great. But I'm curious how you think the theme park's going to handle, because one park had a couple of things last year, nowhere near the scale of what they normally do, and the other park did a little bit more, which I did not get to experience the park out west, unfortunately, but we did visit the one that's closer to home here in Orlando.
So the one in Orlando kind of just pumped the brakes, and then what they said was, well, we're going to open these 2 things, and then surprise,
here's a third.
Here's a number 3 because we have to fulfill a contract.
Yes.
Because that's going to be back next year. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But out west, what happened last year was they required social distancing, reservations, a special ticket, and they basically slashed their capacity by half, which was good. And then said, okay, no haunted houses, which everybody went, what?
Like, how are you charging us for no haunts?
Yeah, and that immediately turned my nose. I was like, I'm not going to pay to go see my friends in scare zones because that's just dumb. And then I come to find out later, because I was booked with other things at that point, they did kind of an outdoor haunted house.
Okay.
So there were several scare zones like they normally have, but then they would kind of have a socially distanced queue where they would stop you and make you get in the line, but you were like, hey, stay 6 feet back from the party in front of you or whatever. And then they would put you into a scare zone that was basically set up like a house.
Okay.
But it was outside.
It was open air, so you didn't have that super close feeling.
Yes. And it may be the same thing next year with them. And if it is, that might be the thing. And if they may try to safely do a house, depending on where the world is by October of 2021.
Yeah. Well, I know, the vaccine's starting to roll out. Granted, it's mostly people that are older or by their doctors, forcing hand of, hey, this patient needs it type thing. Yeah. So, I mean, myself, I'm not eligible to get it. Would I take it? Tomorrow, if I could, of course I would, but I don't fall in that category to be eligible yet. So for people like me, still masking and still distancing and still doing my thing and what I need to do. But there's still a lot of people that I don't think are going to be vaccinated by October.
No, I mean, in the state of Florida, you have the high risk of people are going to be your senior citizens, and then people like me with the really weird genetic diseases who have had cancer 5 times. So that's why I've got mine, as opposed to other people who are my age, like you, who are healthy or fairly healthy, who don't qualify yet because it has not trickled down yet.
Right.
So that's where they're at. And it's going to take, because Florida has just that many old people, it's going to take a while.
Well, between, I think, the elderly people and then, of course, the influx of tourists that we get, because both of our theme parks are open, unlike, the West Coast where, Disney out in California and Knott's and all that, their parks aren't open.
Nope. Universal, Disney, none of that is open. It's all closed.
Yeah. And, I mean, they're doing, some of their shopping areas are open, but that's about it. So I would be, my personal opinion, I would be surprised if we saw a normal event at either of the 2 major theme parks here in Orlando or in Florida. Let me rephrase that.
It's set up for the one in Orlando to open this season.
Okay, cool.
But it's still on the question mark, maybe?
Right. Well, I mean, the one in Orlando has not announced anything officially. I haven't even seen anything unofficially. The only thing that I saw was stuff from last year that they were saying, but it's been radio silence this year so far, and I understand why, because I'm sure they're trying to figure out how can we do it safely with the amount of people that we get and still operate.
I know there's been some cross communication between the 2 parks, but I don't know to the extent that I know.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're all in the waiting game, and I know many of us are hopeful because we want things to go back to normal. We want our normal haunts and our normal Halloween events and all those fun things. And if they happen, fantastic. But I think a lot of people need to keep in mind that, unfortunately, it may not happen like normal. And if it doesn't, it's okay. It's not like they're gone forever.
It's a waiting game at this point.
Yes, I definitely agree. So how do you think with this new world, well, let's say that they do open, and I'm talking like, the parks and even the independent haunts. How do you think that's going to affect the scares? Do you think that people are going to try to keep more of a distant scare as opposed to the normal, like, in your face, than like what we're used to?
I think from 2020 on, I think we are in a new world as haunt actors and as the haunt community, and we need to adapt that from here on in. Unfortunately, a lot of actors were trained to get in your face and, intimidate and this and that. And I mean, I can do that with the best of them too, but unfortunately, me getting into your personal bubble is just not a good idea. I don't want your cooties and you don't want my cooties, and that's not a scare I want to have.
Right.
So we need to adapt to that and just move forward and learn how to scare.
And I think that also comes into play with quite a few things. Costuming. There's going to have to be some change up with some of those. I know I've seen a lot of the independent haunts have done fantastic jobs of incorporating masks into their costumes to try to keep,
You look back at my photos, the photos with me and with my lady in there,
mm-hmm.
I'm wearing an industrial mask, and it made my mask match into my costume for the night, for the event that I did in 2020.
Yeah.
And it looked pretty creepy, and all I had was some powder makeup on and some contacts.
And it looked awesome.
It worked.
Yeah. So I think it's just people having to tap into that creativity that's inside and kind of pull that out and make that manifest a little bit more other than just vocally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest thing is trying to make sure that, do I have to, be some kind of character, or can I just let the costume do it? And it's like, nope, can't rely on the costume anymore. You're going to need to rely on you too.
Yeah, you got to kind of find that happy balance between the two.
Yeah. And that's going to be the hardest part.
Yeah. Well, not even that, but then you've also got, like, the layouts of some of the houses, too, whereas in prior years, a lot of houses have a thing what I like to call the birthing bag.
Oh, my God.
And it's that disgusting black mass of air-filled thing that you have to claw your way through that everybody else... Now it's like this, it freaks me out even thinking about it, but... Now,
so many cooties.
There's so many cooties, but a lot of, at least all the haunts that I know of so far, have gotten rid of that bag because how the hell you can't really sanitize that big hot mess.
You can't. So I've always had a thing with what you call a birthing bag.
I don't know what else to call it.
I've got a few different names for it that I won't say online. If you have a birthing bag in your haunt, no offense, but that just means you ran out of ideas, because I don't like those things. I think they're useless and stupid. You ran out of ideas, and if you have a 15 to 30,000 square foot haunt and you have a birthing bag, you need to go back to the drawing board, because your house is missing a scene, because your house doesn't need to give birth to guests. Sorry.
And even pre-COVID, it was gross.
It really was. And I'm like, I don't like those things. They're claustrophobic and so many cooties.
I don't even care about the claustrophobic factor of it. It's that cootie factor. It's like the drunk guy whose sweat is fully encasing that bag. Or the guy that's sick that's going anyway because, he paid the money and gets all their snot and everything else over. It's just nasty.
Oh.
So I'm very thankful that people at haunts have had to adapt and get rid of that bag for the disgusting factor alone of how how many germs that thing spreads between guests, or my husband's chiming in, or the people that pee. Yes. Oh. There's that too. Here's the unglamorous side of haunts here, folks. Some of you that go and that get scared, you tinkle. Some of you tinkle when you get scared. I understand it. I get it.
Most of us have made you tinkle. We understand.
And we enjoy making you tinkle. I made a couple people tinkle. I was quite proud of that. But it's still bodily waste that does need to get cleaned up. And if you tinkle in those bags, it stays there forever.
It doesn't go anywhere.
It's so gross.
It's just nasty.
It's so gross.
It's nasty.
So it's I've enjoyed seeing the way that some of the haunts have had to kind of reimagine some of their rooms and readapt to get rid of things like that. And it's made me personally quite happy.
Oh, I'm sure you're not the only one, because it's gross. It's just totally gross.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good at all. So I'm glad that people are coming up with these things, and then I'm glad that people are getting creative with it too. Like I know there was a walkthrough last year that was sound driven, to where they had headphones that every guest wore, and they sanitized them, and they allowed you to sanitize if you weren't comfortable with what they did, which I thought was nice. Okay. And they would walk you outside masked, and you had your headphones on, and it was all, so you'd have like bees in your ears and all these other sound effects happening. So it wasn't necessarily the visual, but it was the things that we're hearing. So it's
beyond auditory. Okay.
Yes. So it was very interesting to see how so many people started to adapt into what they thought was scary and to pass that on. And I know a lot of people that have done, those types of walking tours, and they've really enjoyed it because it's very sensory driven and it's not what we're used to seeing.
I mean, if it works, if it's something different and it gets a new crowd, why not?
I agree.
Why not?
Now, what's something that you would like to see in the future in a haunt? Let's say you got to do like your dream haunted house. What is something that you would like to see that hasn't been done to death? Like, forget the chainsaw, forget the clown room, forget the birthing bag, forget, the same things that you see over and over. What's something new?
I would love to see an actual psychological haunt that doesn't revolve around, you have to sign a waiver because I'm going to stick your head underwater. I would love to see a mental psycho haunt that basically messes with your head. Visually, emotionally, not like trigger type things, but
right.
Something that messes with the senses, something that messes with your mind, that makes you think you're in a different situation. Not, any kind of bad warnings, but there's a lot of things that can be played with that can put you in situations where you think that something really bad's going to happen. Like you might lose your life, but you're not going to die. You're in a haunted house.
Right. It still has that safe factor because you're not like signing your life away, so to speak.
Yeah, no, those are not haunted houses. Those are torture chambers. Those are stupid, and
they're trash.
I'm not going to sign up to have somebody put a bag over my head and dunk me underwater. No. Different textures and noises and things, visuals can be played with in a house like that can really just have a great haunt where you don't actually hurt someone or emotionally trigger someone to go to a place that they don't need to go to.
Right.
Because that's not entertainment. That's just disgusting.
Agreed. Definitely agree. There's a way to do things where it is scary and it plays on that psyche where you're not physically, hurting
you
people.
Can go there without going there.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Now I gotta ask, there's 3 questions left that I have. And I've been kind of reading through the chat and I've been hitting on some other questions too. What are some of your favorite experiences that you've had while working at a haunt?
Okay, so I will tell you one of the stories out of that show because it's probably the best one I've ever had.
Okay.
It was my second year working at that big theme park that everybody wants to work at Orlando, and I had a chainsaw. Now, I'm not a little girl. I weigh 250 pounds, so I'm not a little girl. And I had a white tank top on, ripped jeans, and I wasn't as tattooed as I am now.
Okay.
But in blood, they had the word Raven written down my arm. And
Nice.
I was in charge of the chainsaws. Now, you're talking the late 1990s, early 2000s.
Okay.
And I was out the exit of a ride that was over just outside of a shark-infested water. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
And there were columns where this ride was. And this chick comes up to me. Now, this chick is maybe 16, maybe.
Oh, she's
And
itty bitty.
Mom obviously had, yeah, she turned her loose and let her daughter go to the event unsupervised, which I'm like, yay. And she walks up to me and goes, "Oh, I'm not afraid of you. You're just a fat chick in makeup with a fake chainsaw." I'm like, "Okay, go away. I'm about to go on break, and like, I don't care."
Right.
Like, was my attitude. I basically kind of snorted and growled at her and was like, "Go away." Was about my response, but that was my attitude towards her. And she kept talking and talking, and I realized that she was trying to show out for her friends.
Of course. Because that's what they do.
Yeah. Now, this was another time, another life, pre-COVID, of course. So I kind of hustled up to her. I jostled my box just a little bit, and by that I mean the chainsaw, not anything gross, you weirdo. And I growled at her. And I kind of did one of these. And she jumped. Just a little. I went, "Oh, we are scared." So I started the saw. And now, I have never seen this before. I've never experienced a scare like this before. She started bouncing and screaming. I was like,
What?
Okay. So I started bouncing and screaming with her because, I mean, what else do you do? I'm an a-hole. So I'm like, and I mean, the saw was going. My manager is like,
Dying on the inside, I'm sure.
I mean, this is pre, cell phone camera. So I'm like, dang it. She goes to run and scream. And remember I mentioned those columns?
Yeah. Bap.
Yeah, she took a header face first into a column and it knocked her out.
Oh, jeez.
Just, I was like, oh, that had to hurt.
Oh,
Medic!
no.
And I walked away. I don't ever know what happened to her. I don't know if she had a concussion. I don't know if she lived or died.
I'm assuming she lived. I mean, it's a park. I'm sure she was fine.
Just, you could hear the
thwack
and the it was just amazing.
So she basically knocked herself out.
Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm just a fat chick in makeup, but the knot on your head is going to be felt for weeks.
You're going to remember me, princess.
Pretty much. So that was my second year of that event, approximately 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But that was one of my best memories. And I would say my second favorite memory was my best friend is someone I hired into the Haunted Grim House. I almost actually fired him too, but I convinced our boss to keep him on. And I retrained him on my own dime. And we got a group of people into the house. There was approximately 15 of them into this janky, crappy 15-minute, 12,000 square feet of Scared by the Moment.
Oh,
yeah, there were two of us. Yeah, there were two of us. So they're all little girls. Now, the last little girl was another one who was like, "Oh my God, I'm not afraid of you," the entire time.
Oh, one of those.
And I got Mom. I went, "Hey, Mom, what's her name?" And she goes, "Oh, her name's Amy." I went, "Oh, cool."
Thanks,
So
Mom.
I started messing with Amy just as hard as I could. And see, the whole bottom floor of that haunted house was a dark maze. Now, I am almost completely night blind, except I learned the path of that maze because I needed to know. So I walked in behind them, and I just knew the maze by feel. And Amy, after being so brave on the outside of this house, and after me having Mom pay full money for all 15 of these people to walk in,
Wow.
Amy got really, really afraid, and she freaked out. Now, these are all, I want to say, girls between the ages of 11 and 16.
Oh, wow.
I want to say Amy was 13, but Amy had the biggest mouth, so I was vicious. I was not nice. Now, my best friend, I'd retrained him, and I had him working with me, and we would just tag team people to the point where he would giggle. And so he was calling Amy in like 4 different voices. You would just hear everything from a little kid's voice all the way up to Amy. So she just progressively just went into freak out mode because my best friend was just calling and calling and calling her name. So she, "Oh my God, guys, can someone hold my hand?" The problem was the only person behind her was me.
Please tell me you held her hand.
So whose hand did she grab? Whose hand do I have? Mine. She flipped out, fell to the ground, ran outside, and then when Mom asked for her refund, I said, "Read the sign, honey. No refund. Bye."
What? You did what you paid us to do.
Yeah, I did my job. I'm sorry. I don't sell Tupperware.
Exactly. You're not getting your money back, Karen. Sorry.
Just, can I get a refund? That big sign that says no refunds.
Or the fact that you gave me your kid's name. You should have known at that point, Mom. You should have known.
I mean, we were going to fire Mike, is his name, to he would skip through the hallway. You know, just absolutely just skip through the hallway and just mess with people for fun. just for fun. You know, torment people, and we did all kinds of crazy stuff. Just because we could.
Oh, yeah. You can, and it's not that it's more fun, but when there's 2 of you and you get to play, you have that freedom to do the different voices and things like that. It also brings out your creativity.
Mm-hmm. And when you're stuck in what is basically a state fair attraction, even though he says it's $100,000, blah blah, it's nothing more than what you would see in the Florida Fair. You're like, "Okay, buddy," and this is why you're paying us all minimum wage. And on that, I will say this was a year-round haunted house. And anybody says, "Oh, I want to scare year-round," no. Putting that makeup on day in and day out, doing that job day in and day out, is one of the most exhausting things you could possibly think about. Because not only have I done that job, I was the manager.
So you know.
So, yeah. So having to scare, having to do the makeup and the costume, and making sure somebody was there to do that with me, and then handling money and doing paperwork at the end of the night,
It's a lot.
exhausting. It was exhausting.
Yeah.
So I correct a lot of people when they're like, "I want to do this year round." I'm like, "No, you don't. No, 30 to 35 days is more than plenty for me."
Gotcha. And I can understand how after a while it would become a little daunting.
You get a few months in and you're like, "I gotta be back tomorrow."
Maybe not so much.
Yeah.
Now, I've got a couple of questions in from the chat. If you want to answer a couple here before we end our lovely chat that I've been so happy to talk to tonight.
Why not?
I've got someone asking if you've ever had any injuries while working at a haunted attraction.
Oh, God, yeah. 22 years. I mean, who hasn't? Everything from the normal twisted ankle bumps and bruises, mystery bruises, which are always fun.
Yes, they are.
I took a baseball bat to the back of the head a few years ago.
What?
Yup. So I was carrying a baseball bat across the back of my head like this, and someone walked behind me and shoved it into my head to the point where it gave me a concussion.
Wow, what a douchebag.
Yeah, he went away with Tampa PD.
Good.
And yeah, he did some time in jail.
Good.
I will say that. And I will say that as well, if you are injured, especially in a theme park haunt and a home haunt big enough to have security or PD on site, which a lot of them do,
yeah,
there is a zero tolerance for somebody who injures a haunt actor. Zero. If you are injured in any way, shape, or form, and somebody causes that injury, you go to jail. Period. And that's
the crappy side of it, as well as an actor, you have to deal with the reality of there are assholes like that out there. That, or even a lot of these people like to get liquored up and like to get drunk and go to haunts and mess with the actors. And I've had friends who, you know, your story with the bat, I've had friends who've been punched in the face and shoved and kneed and kicked when they were on the ground and like all kinds of things. And that's something else to keep in mind is it's not a matter of, that's not going to happen to me. At some point it will if you're doing it long enough, and it sucks because people suck.
Yeah, it's when, it's not will. I've been grabbed, full, you know, this guy wasn't even fully drunk yet. I was in a full military grade swamp ghillie suit.
Oh, Jesus.
I looked like the Swamp Thing basically, and I'm walking to my set, so I'm looking like a monster, bushy thing. He walks up behind me and grabs me both cheeks in the butt. My manager sees this, and he grabs me and him, and I press charges. He went to jail for 29 days.
Good.
Because his wife wouldn't bail him out. Oops.
Good. Good for you and good for her.
I can only imagine. What are you in for? Grabbing a thing in the butt?
I was at this haunted attraction and I grabbed this thing right in the ass and I don't know. Yeah, I can't. So that's something else to keep in mind for those of you that are looking to scare act and things like that, is there are just crappy people out there. And it's like any job, there are hazards, and unfortunately there are people who are jerks, and they may hurt you, or you may hurt yourself by turning too quickly and twisting your ankle, or by jumping back into a wall, or jumping into something that you don't realize is there and you get the mystery bruise.
Yeah. Yep.
So keep that in mind. All right. Anybody else got any questions for Terry before we let her get on with her evening? I appreciate you guys tuning in. Just going to look through the chat here real quick. Let's see. Got all those. All right.
And I will say that if you are not quick enough to step away from the scare fast enough, you may get the unexpected slap, which I've had done too.
Oh, okay.
I've actually taken a fist to the side of the head because I scared him too much, and it was a big dude.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't step out fast enough, and I took it right to the side of the face.
Oh.
And my manager saw that one. He's like, "Did he just punch you? Should I throw him out?" I'm like, "Nope, my fault. That was my doing." And the guy was like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." I'm like, "Nope, you're fine. Not your fault. I should have stepped away faster. I know better." That was my own bad.
Oh, I'm sure he appreciated that.
Oh, we did. He did, and he felt horrible, and the headache the next day was bad.
Oh, I can't even imagine. Jesus. All right, so final question.
Bring it.
What's your favorite scary movie? Dun, dun, dun.
So I'll let you in on a little secret. I'm not a huge fan of scary movies.
Okay.
I have a hard time watching them. I've made several scary movies as a makeup artist.
Right.
I've done scary makeup for lots of things the last 20-something years, and I still get panic attacks watching scary movies. I can't believe I'm saying that. But I want to say my favorite... I'm not a Freddy Krueger fan because the actor who plays him is a bit of a jerk. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm a little over Mike Myers because of all the years working the theme park where they overused him.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, eh. Not a real big fan of The Walking Dead. That got real boring for me quick. Don't kill me.
No, look, same boat. Same boat.
My reasons. I have my reasons, and there's more reasons behind that. But
same boat.
It got boring. I'm not an M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong fan because those are weird. I want to say probably my favorite type of scary movies are probably things like Silence of the Lambs.
Nice.
I like more of a scary thriller than anything.
There's nothing wrong with that. Those are some fine movies. I like a good psychological thriller. And I like, something like that. It doesn't always have to be blood and guts or zombies or, sometimes the psychological thrillers are just as scary.
If you want to go like old school scary movie, I gotta say my favorite from back in the day is probably OG Poltergeist.
Dude, they're here.
Yep.
So good. There's a I don't know if you have Shudder, but there's like a cursed movie set thing, and they actually talk about Poltergeist, and they dive into a lot of the things that happened like surrounding that film too. But yeah, Poltergeist is such a good movie. Oh my god. It's up there on my list. It's pretty high.
And OG It and the original series of The Stand.
Yes! Thank you! Thank you! So good. Both. The original It is always going to be my preference. Not to take anything away from the new films whatsoever. But Tim Curry as Pennywise just has my heart.
I could not I couldn't hang with the new It. I tried. I even have a friend who's in the second one, and I'm like, I have to watch it through just so I can see the friend, and I'm like,
I can't do it.
I was kind of bored, to be honest. I was like, oh, okay, I know how this ends, but
right. But okay, can you move it along? No, I get it. I totally get it. I totally get it.
I mean, those are a couple of my big go-tos as far as horror movies. But yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of horror movies. I know, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm not holding anything against you. I totally get it. Is there anything that you want to plug or anything, or any places that you want to direct some folks to? I know you're part of the Nomads, Nightmare Nomads.
I know there is a convention coming up, but I'm not sure of the who's or the what's. I think it's HauntCon, but that is going to be for haunt folks. Yes. I'm not personally coming up with anything soon other than haunt season. The Nightmare Nomads generally they can be booked into private haunts or, come do guest acting, and we're pretty cool people. Just saying.
I can vouch for them. I'm awesome people.
You can book me to come to your haunt, and I can do things. And we have people who have different skill sets, such as stilt walkers, sliders, fire breathing. I mean, just you name it. There's pretty much somebody who does it. Actors, just the are cool folks. And, you know, people over at the Petrified Forest, they're pretty cool folks too.
Yes, yes,
And
they are.
hopefully we will have a really, really good season and things will be fun.
Fingers crossed.
Same.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. To everybody on YouTube, appreciate you guys. I'll have the link for Nightmare Nomads down in the description box. So if you guys are looking for some actors to come out and work your haunt this season, definitely hit them up. I've got just one real quick last plug for us. We've got another show coming up next Wednesday. I have a good friend, John Lee from Bad Moon Effects, and Meg Murderer from Gore's Truly are going to be on, and we're talking zombie films. So there's going to be all kinds of arguments about fast zombies and slow zombies and voodoo zombies and dead zombies and not dead zombies. So tune in for that next Wednesday at 8. So yeah. So thank you guys for watching. Until next time, keep it spooky. Bye.